Katz and Cosby, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Everybody talking about Zohran Mamdani, the mayor, doubling down, saying, we're looking into options about maybe arresting Netanyahu. And this is so interesting, Judge, because now there is a Democrat, it's a state assemblyman in New York who's saying...
He's made it very, very clear that he believes it's a violation of state law. It's abuse of office by this mayor to direct the police to make an arrest of a particular individual. And that'd be very, very interesting to see if you try to make that move, what happens next.
That's an interesting point. So let's go to Professor Alan Dershowitz. Professor, what do you make of this? Could there be some overreach by him, that there could be some penalty even for suggesting it?
We are looking into that, not only state violations, but federal violations.
Civil rights laws?
Yeah, by threatening a prime minister. The purpose is to keep him out of New York, to keep him away from the UN, which would be obviously to violate U.S. foreign policy. So we're looking into possible federal criminal prosecution, which I think the Trump administration would be very interested in pursuing if we could find it. And if anybody out there, lawyers, can help us look through the federal code and see whether or not this would violate federal anti-civil rights law. Conspiracy to violate the civil rights of an individual doesn't have to be a citizen of the United States. He can be somebody invited to the United States by either the Trump administration or by the United Nations. And of course, there is this state law that says you can't target people and tell the police to investigate them. By the way, I had, as my research assistant, she helped me write a book, Jessie Tisch. And I haven't spoken to her about this, but I can't believe that she would actually enforce an order by the mayor to violate the law and to arrest somebody who's here under the protection of an American treaty and American law. So, he's just blowing air, but he's doing it in a way that could backfire on him and could result in him being in violation of criminal law. The other thing, of course, is it would be really easy for us to do, and we're exploring this now, to get an injunction, a federal injunction against Mamdani, having the federal court say you cannot arrest the Prime Minister of Israel because you, the mayor, have no authority to interfere with the United Nations. And by the way, how many war criminals have spoken at the United Nations? I was there when Ahmadinejad spoke. He was a war criminal. Virtually every Iranian who has ever spoken at the UN has been guilty of war crimes. And of course, many in other countries, in China and Sudan and you name it, Russia, have been guilty of war crimes, and none of them has ever been threatened with arrest. The only person threatened with arrest is the Jewish Prime Minister of Israel. Look, Mamdani and his wife are both virulent anti-Semites. Yes, anti-Semites. They do not like Jews. They don't like the Jewish nation. Now, of course, they're going to say, but we like Brad Lander, and we have a few Jews. Hitler had a few Jews he liked, too. Mussolini had a few Jews he liked. Some of my best friends are Jews is the first statement an anti-Semite makes. Mamdani is an anti-Semite. His wife is an anti-Semite. The mayor of New York, the city with the largest Jewish population outside of Tel Aviv, is a virulent anti-Semite, and his focusing on the Prime Minister of Israel to the exclusion of every other prime minister is a sign of international anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism doesn't only have to be directed at an individual. It can be directed at the only nation state of the Jewish people in the world. That's international anti-Semitism, and he's guilty of that.
Judge Weinberg?
Alan, so what do you think about Secretary of State Rubio saying he wants to dismantle the International Criminal Court? What are your thoughts about that?
Look, I was a big supporter of the International Criminal Court when Luis Ocampo, the great first prosecutor, headed it. I actually went over there at his invitation. I spoke to the prosecutors. I've argued 3 cases in front of the International Criminal Court. Right now, there has to be a change of leadership. Khan is a rapist. He has been credibly charged with rape. His immediate assistant is prepared to testify. And if that leadership maintains itself, then of course there should be efforts to dismantle. Now, the United States and Israel are not members of the International Criminal Court. Neither is Russia, and neither are some other countries. So, it's mostly a paper tiger. But the idea that they can issue arrest warrants, and remember, this guy, this Khan, this rapist, he issued the arrest warrant. I had a deal with him. I was doing the negotiation. I had a deal with him. He was going to Israel. He was going to meet with the prime minister. He was then going to go to Gaza and investigate for himself. Then he gets charged with rape, and he immediately calls and says, no, I'm not going to Israel. I'm not going to give him a chance to respond. Let's just issue the arrest warrant.
That's his cover to protect himself.
Yeah, I have evidence. Direct evidence, that he did that to protect himself. And he did it because he was told that if he issued an arrest warrant against Israel, he's going to get a lot of support from a lot of the countries in the ICC. So the ICC has become very much like the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice, of course, is not international. It's not a court, and it wouldn't know justice if it fell over it. It's the United Nations Court, which is not a court at all. The ICC, the International Criminal Court, had promised of being an actual court, but then they appointed these thugs to be prosecutors. Not only this person, but the one before him as well. Biased and political and ideological, and they've destroyed any chance that the International Criminal Court has to have credibility. So, no, I don't think the International Court
Senator Borrello, anymore. You wanted to say something.
Yes, Professor Dershowitz, this is State Senator George Borrello, and hi. It appears that at the very least, or at the very most, I guess, is the mayor is thinking he's going to somehow use the NYPD to enforce a state law. This is not only not within his purvey, but the fact of the matter is that the governor, the attorney general, there isn't a law enforcement official in New York State that would actually challenge him on this. That's the problem. They're spineless. The governor needs his votes. So what would be the charge again at the federal level? Because I think that's the only way we're actually going to get any kind of.
That's the only place we'll get. It would be there would be a lot of things. We're looking into it, but it would be a violation of the civil liberties, the civil rights, the human rights. A conspiracy to violate rights. And remember, to have constitutional rights in America, you don't have to be a citizen. The minute that a prime minister comes to the United States, he has constitutional rights. He can't be arrested without due process, all of those things. And so we're looking into it. We're at the earliest stages, and I want to thank the assemblyman for coming up with the idea of state law. But you're right. There's no way Bragg or Letitia James are going to go after their friend Mamdani. But I can imagine a U.S. attorney looking into this and finding a violation. If he can see that the purpose of this thing was to try to discourage or deter or frighten a head of state from coming to the United States, that could clearly be a violation. But look, we have to look into it. I don't believe in making quick decisions without thorough research. We're going to do the thorough research, but I think we will find some basis in federal law for prosecuting him, particularly if he persists in threatening it. And look, I know BB since he's 25 years old. BB's not going to be threatened. He's not going to be deterred. He's going to come. And I'm going to walk with him down the streets of New York as one of his lawyers. So he's not going to be threatened. But the idea that a mayor of New York can make a decision to threaten. Look, what Rudy Giuliani did was the right thing. When Yasser Arafat came, he told Arafat, "You're not welcome here. You're not welcome here. We don't want you sitting in the Metropolitan Opera or at Lincoln Center. You're not welcome here." But nobody's threatening to arrest Arafat. Arafat was a major criminal. He had so much blood on his hands, and he spoke at the United Nations with a gun at his side. And of course, nobody threatened to arrest him, because the only reason Mamdani is doing this is because the Prime Minister of Israel is Jewish. And he knows that he has a lot of anti-Semitic support among his supporters, including among Jews.
Yeah, sadly.
Look, Brad Lander and others like him are the worst anti-Semites. They're the kind of anti-Semites who in 1932 voted for Hitler. Jews voted for Mussolini. And so,
that's why we all have to stand together. We all got to stand together against hate. I'm telling you. And keep us posted what you discover too. Also, Professor Dershowitz, please.
Of course. Yeah.
Please.
And thank you for publicizing it. And anybody who has any suggestions, just, write to me at Harvard Law School and let me know what your suggestions are.
Bravo.
And be happy to follow up on them.
Bravo. Professor Dershowitz, you're the best. Keep up the great fight.
Thank you.
You're such a hero. Thank you so much.